Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Bryan with a brand new review for you. And yes, a brand new background. These are all 1 inch squares. We're going to be using this a lot from now on. I really kind of like the way this looks. So I think it's a good way to reference size. Every square is 1 inch, so it gives you a good idea what size the stuff is we're talking about. Because we get a lot of close ups and weird camera angles. So, what we are talking about tonight, let's get to the point. I'm reviewing the Steel Will Cutjack C22M in D2 steel. Before we get a lot of specifics about this particular knife, let's talk a little bit about Steel Will. Very interesting company. This is the first one of their products I've actually laid my tiny little hands on. I'm quite happy about that. They do two vastly different lines, I guess you'd call it. They actually have 3 lines, but I would say two vastly different price points. They make some of their knives in China, which primarily have D2 steel and these FRN handles. I think a few of them are G10 maybe, but don't quote me on that. And then they make other models in Italy that are mostly M390 steels with much nicer handles and bearings and stuff like that. Their lower end stuff usually has brass bushings, which is what this one has. So there's not much in between. You get you can either buy a $45, $50, $60 steel will or a $140 to $180 steel will, and not much in between. So it's interesting, and I bought this. I actually did buy this one. I don't buy all my review knives, I will admit. Some are loaned to me by manufacturers. Some are I've actually already had one that a viewer sent me, so that's awesome. But I did buy this one because, like I said, I have not touched a steel will before, so you don't see them in knife shops much, at least around here. So I just wanted to get one in my hands and learn more about it and see if I'm gonna buy the more expensive one. And we'll get more into that in our conclusion section, I guess. But let's talk about some stats on this particular one and talk about its other C22 stablemates. So as I said, this is a C22M. The M stands for mini because this is the 3-inch blade. They also make it in a regular C22 in a 3.5-inch blade. And as I mentioned, you can get either of those in these FRN handles and D2 blade for around between, if you're getting the mini or the big one, between 40 and 50 bucks, or for between 145 and 155 bucks, you can get it in G10 with an M390 handle. This lower priced version comes with brass bushings in the flipper. The higher end versions come with bearings. So you are getting a significant difference in performance and the steel, but in looks and ergonomics, they're not that far off. So this is kind of one just to try out to see if I want to spend money on the bigger one. I think that's what a lot of you guys will be doing too. Let's get into the actual dirty nerdy stats. Overall length of 7 inches, as you can see on this cool new background that blocks everything out. Blade length of 3 inches. Blade width, you've got 1 inch, and it is a full inch, and it is a flat grind blade. There's a little bit of a swedge on top, but it's goddamn near a full flat grind. So, yeah, makes it an excellent slicer, which you'll see later on. Satin finish, you can get it in other finishes. We've got the blade width of 0.12 inches. So that's exactly the same as like a Manix 2 or something like that. Not quite as deep a blade, but yeah, pretty thin, good. Like I said, slicing blade. The weight on this thing is one of its highlights. It is dead on 3 ounces, so pretty light. It's a pretty lightweight knife. We're gonna skip ahead to the size comparisons just because this is a similar thing. For example, you're looking at your Delica 4 here, weighs, let me look, I should have it memorized by now, but I don't, so I'm going to look it up, 2.5 ounces. And fairly similar size. We'll talk about that more when I get into the ergonomics, but yeah, fairly similar size and weight. to a Delica 4, which I actually was expecting to be a bit bigger and beefier than that. Compare it, some other size comparisons we'll do. We got your Spyderco Tenacious, which is obviously a little bit larger. Your, let's see what we got laying over here, Benchmade 940, which is thinner but much longer. Probably not going to be comparing much between these two because this is significantly cheaper. This is a $40 knife. This is $160. So, and something else more in its price range. Your Ontario Rat. This is the Rat 1. This is probably unfair to show because the Rat 1's a big. It doesn't even fit in the screen because I didn't have it. Wasn't. This just was laying here, so I grabbed it. Your Ontario Rat 1. They do have the Rat 2, which is more similar to this size. So, and I do not own a Rat 2 yet. If someone wants to send me one to review and play with, please do so. Contact me in the direct messages, and I will gladly do that. But let's get back to your Cutjack. So, the one, like I said, one of the things that differs a lot between these, and before we get into this, I'm just going to say this is a negative I have to this. I do realize that the more expensive versions have bearings, and this one has bushings, and so I wasn't expecting this to be completely ball bearing flipper smooth, but it's not as good as I expected it to be. It's, yeah, see, it didn't even come out that time. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. It's not like disappointing. It's not like it doesn't break my heart. I mean, it's as good as the Delica. It's as good as the Delica is. It's just as smooth as that. But no, I bumped the camera. It's just as good as the Delica is, but yeah, maybe not. No, it's not quite as good as it's almost as good as the Delica. So, but you have to give it a bit of a flick. It's not, you're not going to flip it open with just your one finger unless you have better fingers than mine. Maybe it'd be better if it had more jimping or a bigger flipper, which I hardly ever ask for a bigger flipper, but on this one I'm kind of wishing they had a little bit bigger flipper. So the action on it is slightly disappointing to me, I have to say. I'll cover it more in the conclusion, but I guess I just was expecting more, and I might be wrong for that. This is, we have to remember, it's not an expensive knife. This is currently, let's look at the exact price. This is currently $38.99 on Blade HQ. I mean, and it performs, the flip action works like a $38.99 knife. I shouldn't complain about it. I guess Steel Will, I just heard so many awesome things about the Cutjack, and maybe I just expected more. Maybe I just built it up more in my mind than I should have. So maybe this is all my fault, but I was expecting a bit more. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not something that would make me not... If I'd have picked this up in the store, I'd have probably still bought it. I mean, it's not like a disqualifying thing, but I just expected a bit more. And I did tear it apart. I did tear it apart and put some oil on it, and thinking maybe it just needed to be oiled and greased up, but it didn't really help a whole lot. Everything looked fine. The bushings look fine, all that stuff. So yeah, it's not a silky smooth, like a lot of your high-end Chinese, ball bearing knives or zero tolerance or something like that you just effortlessly flick it open. That's not going to happen. Let's move on to let's talk about the aesthetics of it. I like the look of it. The FRN is not overwhelmingly great. I do like the overall general look of it. It doesn't look like particularly tactical. It just looks kind of like a knife, which I don't mind that for something that, I mean, in this price range, $40, this is an EDC kind of do what you will sort of knife. Steel will, do what you will. See what I did there? I did a thing. I made a joke. No, I didn't. But yeah, it's kind of a knife you just carry it all the time, and it's great for that. It's not, you can take it out, and it's not going to really super intimidate anybody or anything like that. The only thing I don't like the looks of it is the FRN. It's all right. I mean, it's the same problem I have with some of the Spyderco FRNs. Like, it doesn't look any worse than the Spyderco FCRN, so FRCN, whatever the fuck it is, I can never remember. But it looks all right. It's not terrible, but it's just not my preferred look. I'd prefer this was a few bucks more with some G10, and we'll get on to why that more. Actually, let's move on to that right now, because ergonomically, that's the biggest upshot to this knife. Is ergonomically, it is really good for a 3-inch knife and my fairly large hands. It feels really good. The jimping is freaking perfect. The FRN works really good as far as being a grippy surface. This pocket clip, although I wish it was deep carry, because I always do, some people don't, so that's to each his own. Looks great and disappears. You don't feel it at all when you're holding this knife. Thin handle, disappears well in the pocket, other than a little bit sticking out at the top. But the aforementioned FRN, the biggest issue I have with the FRN, I guess, even more than just its looks, is it's really grippy when you're trying to pull it out of your pocket. You do get, I don't think it's going to tear your pants up or anything, but you do have to give it a bit more of a yank, than I expected to. I thought it would just kind of, because Spyderco, like on the Delica, does this where they put their logo down there, so that, this is not the correct clip. I swapped it from another Spyderco, but they have their logo down there so that it slides out of your pocket easier. I wish they'd have put a little flat spot down there just to make it come out of my pocket easier. I'm nitpicking now. The ergonomics on this thing are probably, honestly, worth the $40. It's not expensive. You're getting D2 steel. That's pretty good. And it's so comfortable to carry. It's so comfortable to use. I was really happy with it. My favorite ergonomic knife is the Manix 2, which, holy crap, I don't have one laying around here. I usually have one around that I can grab to compare to, but that's the most ergonomically perfect, the Spyderco Manix 2, but this is not terribly far off, and it's much smaller. And it does the magic pocket ergonomics thing that I like. It fits in my 5th pocket of my jeans, that little quote-unquote change pocket that no one uses for change. It fits in there perfectly. So I really love that about it, because I can just untuck a t-shirt and you never know I got a knife on me. And the Delica 4 is what I usually carried for that, but I love my Delica 4, but I wish I had the flat ground, but I don't. That's a whole other story. If I get into that, I'll be crying all night. But I could see me carrying this instead of the Delica 4. I have for the past couple of days. I put this in the spot of the Delica 4, and it was fine. I didn't feel like I was carrying more knife. I know in this angle it looks larger, and this is half an ounce lighter, but half an ounce, if you're saying you feel half an ounce, you're full of crap. You don't feel the difference between half an ounce. I'm sorry. But yeah, this is ergonomically, I think, ergonomically, I definitely like this better. And it fits in the same spot in my pocket. And it's D2 steel, which is, there's a bug there. Sorry, I don't kill things, so I had to just blow it away instead. But ergonomically, it's better. Fits in the same spot. It's got the awesome jimping, just as good as what it is in the Delica. Just as good. And the Delica is like $20 more. And this was accidentally kind of a rare one, so I may sell that. So I've been thinking about that every time I carry it, is don't damage it, because you might want to sell it someday. But yeah, it's great. So let's do some slicing with it. Let's do some slicing, because that's another area where this is definitely better than this particular Delica 4. But again, this is the Saber Grind one. I need to get a full flat ground to try it out. So let's start out with your standard paper. Sorry, I had to bend over and get it. One's desk is only so big. So we got your standard printer paper. Standard printer paper. We'll start with that. Yeah, this thing is sharp as the day is long out of the box. Absolutely nothing to complain about there. And as I've said in other reviews, one of the things I do a whole lot with knives, and probably one of the main reasons why I carry it, is I cut a lot of cardboard. So let's start out with some. This is, by the way, the Amazon A1 box. If you're wondering why it says A1 on it, I get a lot of stuff off of Amazon, and a lot of them seem to come in this A1 size box, probably because it's mostly what knives come in. So cut through some of that. Like nothing. I mean, I'm putting almost no effort on that whatsoever. Let's go against the grain and try that. I don't know if we're going to be able to in the in-camera shot. Yeah, it cuts right through it. I can't hold it right with this camera angle. There we go. I just want to make sure that it's on the camera. Yeah, it hacks right through it just as well as anything else going against the grain. It's not quite Mannix 2 territory. It may not even quite be paramilitary 2 category, but I'm talking about knives over $100, and this is 40. So maybe that's a bit unfair comparison. Let's just hack through something else I got here. I got a little bit of paracord here that I tried to do something with. It didn't work out. So I bet this is, yeah, that's nothing. I was barely even pushing on that. Let's try 2. Just going to test both this knife and my limited eye-hand coordination. Yep, easy as could be. Oh, I didn't get one of them. But still, I'm barely pushing on that. And it just cuts right through everything. So, it's a really good slicer. It's $40. It's ergonomically outstanding. D2 steel, can't complain about that. I have a lot of knives with D2. I didn't mean to wind up with so many of them, but it just seems a lot of stuff in the price range that I have an affinity for winds up being D2. Holds an edge for a very long time, and when it doesn't and you need to touch it up, it's not difficult. So I can't, and the rust resistance is pretty good. I really can't complain about anything to do with that. Now, here's what I will say about it. If I have to have a downside, I honestly expected, and again, this is probably me just blowing things up in my mind, I expected to get this and be so in love with it that I immediately ordered one of the $150 ones in the M390. That's honestly what I expected to happen, and it hasn't. I'm not saying I won't. I'd like to try the larger size. I'm not going to buy the larger size in this one, though. I think if I'm going to buy the larger size, I'm going to pony up the 150 for the quote-unquote real one. The action is just where it's not bad. I'm sorry to keep saying I'm disappointed in it, but I am disappointed. I wouldn't be if... I shouldn't be. I just nicked my brand new thing. I shouldn't be disappointed in it, but I am. It's just, I was expecting something really, really smooth and close to what I've heard about the amazing higher end ones, and it's just not. It feels like a $40 knife when you flick it open. It feels actually like a bit less than a $40 knife. It feels like a $25 knife when you flick it open. That's my biggest. Everything else I really like about this. The FRN doesn't look great, but a lot of people do that, so I can't knock that. That's just a taste thing, and a lot of Spyderco does it too. So I'm not gonna count that FRN that doesn't appeal to me as being a downside, but that action is. I just wanted more. I just wanted it to be smoother. It does close easy. I mean, and but you always have to give it just a bit of a flick. I haven't succeeded in opening it on just the tab. Maybe I got a bad one. Somebody from Steel Will watches this and thinks I got a bad one and wants to send me another one, but I don't think I did. I think that's just how it is. So, great knife, great price, great ergonomics, great design. The action needs some work, and if you want to spend another $100, you can fix that. So that's just up to you. But it won't be my last Steel Will. I'm sure I'm going to wind up getting another one. But this hasn't turned me off of Steel Will. I just was expecting awesomeness, and I just got really good instead. So still a great knife. I'm not going to not recommend it, but yeah, needs some work on that action. I have been Bryan. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and you have an awesome Thanksgiving. And when you get up tomorrow morning, please watch my Thanksgiving morning video. I think you're going to find it quite amusing. I did something a bit, well, something that I haven't done before. Not a bit different for Knife YouTube, but something I haven't done before. And also, please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/slicydicey. As you can see, I got this new setup here. I changed the lights a little bit too, changed my camera mount. Like, I am investing money in this channel, so any money that you guys kick in on Patreon, I promise you, I will put right back into it. And we've got a giveaway going on. I'm giving away 3 knives for different levels of subscribers. Every time I hit those levels, I'll pick a random one, and you guys will get some different knives. I got a Bird Robin 2, I got a Kershaw Lifter, and the Ontario Rat 1 you saw earlier. I'm going to be giving all those away at different levels. You can, just any subscriber qualifies for the random drawing, but if you donate at least $10 on Patreon, you get more chances. So please do that. Thank you guys so much. Again, it's patreon.com/slicydicey, SLICEYDICEY. I've been Bryan. Have a good night. Talk to you later.